Fortunately for us, those areas have grown over with brush and trees, and so it looks more or less like the rest of the landscape. But as I said earlier, more gold meant more people coming into the interior. And at the height of that steamboat era, there's about 250 boats operating on the rivers of Alaska. But everything would change with airplanes and railroad. To the point that in present-day Alaska, almost all of our population is relying on aircraft at least some point during the year, especially the different villages all throughout our great state. And I'm sure that you and if that was too fast for you, don't worry. He's going to be doing a takeoff demonstration for us again this morning. With the communities that they serve. You know, I had a friend at the University of Alaska Fairbanks where I got my bachelor's in marketing, and his name was Matt. He lived in this really small community on the west coast of Alaska. And he had two rivers that ran right through his village. Metal tubes and a light fabric coating, but they're able to carry 600 to 1,000 pounds of cargo. They can fly for about 4.5 hours, or if they have an extension, they can fly for a little bit longer than that. But here it comes now. This last part is done entirely by feel. He can't see the water that's directly underneath him. He has to use his years of experience flying. Perfect landing for you this morning. If this was gymnastics, it would be a 10 from us. Did you know that 1 in 80 Alaskans is a licensed pilot? Because he's our friend, we actually get to call him up on the radio and see how the flight was for him this morning. AK, this is Discovery 3, how do you read? Hello, Discovery 3, how are we doing today? Good, that was an incredible takeoff and landing you did for us this morning. How are the winds up there for you? One of those nice, cool. Got a lot of flying quotes out here. First, I guess this is the second flight of the season. For sure, well that was a wonderful takeoff, and I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit about yourself, some background information, and even how you got your start flying. Yeah, Seth McMillan here, been flying in Alaska 20 plus years, all over the state, little planes like this, winter, summer, and fall. From the west coast over by Coffee to Eagle on the upper Yukon River, North Slopes, all the way down into the Alaska Range and Chugach. It's a wonderful state to be a pilot in when the weather's good. You got good airplanes to fly like this one. This is a Husky, Aviat Husky made in Georgia. It's an A1C model from like 2009 time frame, and it's equipped with amphibious floats because we need those this time of year because the float pond is so closed that the international airports get to take off on wheels and land on the river here on the water. And it's a pretty specialized tool, not many of these around, and happy to come see you fine folks today on the river. We usually see a lot of Super Cubs here in the interior and throughout Alaska, and I know that a Super Cub hasn't been made since for 30 years. Is it hard to keep these older aircraft maintained? Yeah, the Super Cub is a time-tested and true bush airplane. Started to be built in the 30s and 40s, and they stopped making them in the mid-70s. This Husky is kind of I'm going to call it a knockoff of the Super Cub. They tried to improve the design, but many will say that you can't improve the design of the Super Cub. It was just time-tested and true. So the Husky here has got some fine features, but they all kind of come at a cost when you compare it to the
I'll get the bow ready for our next show. Be on that other side. Yeah. And then I'll invite you all back out.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now dogs you'll meet in town. And she's out here doing some cuddling and bonding and getting to know her environment. And believe it or not, all this playtime that we do with the puppies is really beneficial to them later on in their life. She would go in with the mothers, pick up each little pup individually and blow across their noses. Now this is because for the first 10 days of their life, their eyes aren't open yet, so they're very dependent on a sense of smell to get used to us. Once their eyes do open and they're starting to wander around, you can tell that they already know some of the things. Now this is what my mom would call the trust and distrust relationship, and that was so important to all of us. Now once they're a little bit older, like these three, we can bring them out to this little enclosure here and encourage them to overcome obstacles. Today's obstacle, as you can see, is just jumping over these logs. Now at first it can be a little intimidating, especially for a pup that loves their snuggles. So we're going to help them out, give them some encouragement. Then once they can do it confidently on their own, we're going to praise them on the other side. This teaches the puppies that we are never going to ask them to go any farther or faster than they're capable of. And of course, we're always going to teach them to do what they do like the puppies.
When these dogs begin to kind of learn everything that they have to learn here, but they're still too small to teach on the team, what comes next in their training?
Well, what we like to do is start taking them out on daily adventures, kind of show them new experiences and new environments. It'll start off in a week or so walking them along the shrubs here on the riverbank. Then eventually we can start having them go a little bit farther, walk them back to their mother, maybe even do a little quarter-mile loop on some of the trails that we've got around here. Now, with every single day, their confidence and strength is building. And so we want to start teaching them, for example, some of the behaviors that we're going to want from our group sled dogs. And we do this by having older mentors, retired dogs, their mothers, some of the adult leaders in our team, go out on these free walks with them. And at this point, nobody's wearing a harness yet. They're actually not on a leash. They're just free to run around and explore and learn from each other. The older dogs will splash through a puddle and the puppies will chase after. Maybe an adult will jump over a log and the puppies do their absolute best to keep up. And then finally, when it's time to come home, we'll just call the adult dogs back for us. They'll come running like we've been doing for years. The puppies see that and hear our voices. And eventually they start to associate those voices with coming home. So after months and months of doing this puppy training, going through these walks together as a group, the pups are learning that it's really fun to work together as a group, and it makes the transition in the harness a lot smoother when that day arrives.
It must be such an exciting day when that morning comes, when they get to graduate to that harness on. But when that day comes, Angela, is it because they're old enough or weigh enough? What's the feedback here?
Well, of course, we want to make sure that they're the right size. So we like to wait till they're about 6 months to a year old to put them in harness for the first time. You want to make sure that they can wear that adult harness comfortably, lean into it, and help move the sled forward. But we also want to make sure that the instinct to pull is kicked in. And when we see that, it's time to put them in the team. We'll hook up a couple of those trusted adult mentors out front, 4 to 6 puppies behind, give everybody the command to go, which is all right. And the adults lean into their harness. They start bounding forward. The puppies chase after them. And within just a few minutes, it looks like we have a small adult team of dogs. In fact, my mom would sometimes say that it takes a minute to teach them to go, but a year to teach them to whoa.
Okay, just okay. Thank you.
Want to go. So could you share with us, do you put any dog anywhere along the line, or are they specialized?
Well, we like to have them specialized, especially in that front position. So those two that we're hooking up right now, those are called the lead dogs. Now, perhaps you've heard that term before, lead dog, because it tends to be some of the most famous in a kennel. These guys are our steering wheels. They're in charge of steering the team right and left. On some of those longer endurance dogs, they'll also help set the pace for the rest of the team, the cheerleaders. And it's really fun to have dogs up there that you know and trust. Now, in the middle of the team, we've got team dogs. In a race like the Iditarod, you start off with 16 dogs in your team. So you can just imagine how long these lines dead with all those teams there, barking and screaming through the streets of Anchorage. It's a sight to see. It's so much fun. In the back closest to the sled, we have our wheel dogs. And sometimes you'll see a bigger or a burlier dog in this position because they are closer to the sled. Therefore, on the uphills, they're going to feel a little bit more of the wind. But I don't use the sled in the summer months. We actually just transitioned off sled onto four-wheelers. So for summer conditioning, we're going to use a four-wheel cart. And on this one, we've actually removed the engine. So what you're about to see is 100% dog power. Each of these guys can pull about 4 times their body weight. So once we get that initial tug going, it's going to be a nice run around our pond here. All right.
Started. They all lean in their harnesses. Everyone gets quiet. And Tekla is gone. Now, don't worry, she's going to be doing a U-turn around the veterinary bar. At any moment that you can't see, just take a look on your monitors. But the next place you want to focus your attention to is right in between the 2 cabins, going from right to left. You see her popping out right now. Each of the dogs taking pace of a leader, and then every other dog in the dog yard freaking out, saying, "Pick me, I want to go." But you know, every single dog here at Trailbreaker Kennels, they get trained and exercised daily. That's why they live long and are so healthy. The great lead dog Granite lived to be 17. But if you want to see them again, they're going to be popping out on the other side of the lake, just beyond the tall spruce tree.
Well, here we are coming out of the trees on the other side of the lake, and these dogs are really flying. It's so impressive they can carry me and the four-wheeler. Together we weigh about 500 pounds. Still, we're going close to 20 miles per hour. Now, what I like to do during any training run is look at their tug line. That's the line that attaches the back of the harness to the four-wheeler. Looking up and down my team, I can see that all of these dogs are working together and doing their job by the fact that all of their tug lines are nice and tight. Now, I've got a couple different ages up in front. Farmer is kind of a tried-and-true leader, and he's running next to Lydia. Lydia is about to turn 2 years old. She doesn't have as much experience as the lead, but we're going to see if Farmer can help her learn the command for
well, you can see them up here. They're on the other side of the lake, she said.
Did you all see that hawk command? This is all done with voice steers. Sprint mushy dogs and long distance. These ones here at Riverboat Kennel are actually bred for that mid-distance, long distance racing. The next place that we're going to be from left to right. That's where you want to focus your attention to next. But I want to let you all know that our dog time isn't over yet. I can kind of see that the boat is tilting a little bit to the left here. I'm so glad that you're excited about these dogs, and actually one of the trainers from the Trailbreaker Kennel is going to meet us a little bit later this morning down at the
There they come.
down at the post office. But here she comes now. She's doing one more U-turn around the veterinary barn, and then she's going to be popping out right in front of the gate. I hope that whoa command works. There's a great statue of the lead dog Granite down at the post office cabin. Great
All right.
But here she comes now.
Whoa!
Nicely done, Tekla, once again.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a great run. And of course, after every training experience, it's important to go up and down your line, giving all the dogs a pat on the head and letting them know you appreciate their hard work.
Outage into last minute.
Oh, look at him.
Very nice, Tekla. And I let our guests know, Tekla, that our dog time isn't over yet. That a few people, a few of your crew members are actually going to come and meet us down at the Chena Village so we can get close up personal with these dogs. And I was wondering about it. Memories, time, etc. And I know that there was that boat that was on the road. Do you have any time this morning to come down to the village and maybe sign a copy or two?
Absolutely. You know, I grew up hearing my mom tell the story of Granite time and time again. She was so proud because even though Granite was born the runs of his litter, many people thought he wasn't going to make a strong sled dog. My mom still decided to work with him and build his confidence. And through much of that dedication, Granite became one of the greatest lead dogs of all time. And that story has always stuck with me. It's told me that I can chase my dreams no matter the obstacles. So if you folks would like to get a copy of that book, for your children, your grandchildren, or even a public library, I would be honored to dedicate it for you.
Well, we look forward to that, Tekla. And thank you so much for sharing with us your backyard.
Well, thank you for stopping by.
At our China village, which is to the right of us and also on your monitor. We like to think of this place as a living museum. It's sort of a time capsule of what Captain Jim, the villages that Captain Jim visited when he was running freight in the 30s and 40s. This isn't an exact village, it's a replica, a living museum. But we're going to be stopping here for about an hour to go to 3 different short cultural stops where your Alaska Native tour guides will be teaching you about the different Alaska Native ways of life. But we're also going to be learning about fish camp this morning, and it looks like my friend Leo is down there to the right of us with the catch of the day. Good morning, Leo.
Good morning. Here I have chub salmon, and when you all turn around and come back to the river, I'll tell you all about how we cut these up for dog food, and tell you a bit more about fish camp life.
Yeah, we knew they'd be there. Those are friends of ours. What you see in the pen here is domesticated caribou. These are called reindeer. They have all the same adaptations as their wild relatives. They have a coat that changes with the season. In the summertime, it becomes a thin, dark brown coat. In the wintertime, they grow out a thick white coat. And that winter coat of the caribou is actually all hollow. Every single hair, every single strand is hollow on the caribou hide. This makes it buoyant for them to migrate in the springtime over the river systems of Alaska, and also acts as further insulation. They have a wide split hoof. It acts much like a shovel, allowing them to be able to dig down several layers of snow to the lichen and moss which they eat. The name caribou actually means deer who paws the ground. Their antlers are just this year's growth, by the way. Male and female reindeer and caribou grow antlers. They're the only type of deer to do that. The females have evolved to keep their antlers on throughout the winter to be able to protect the young. So the males will actually drop theirs first. What they'll do is they'll enter into the rut. They'll get the urge to reproduce, and the males begin to fight over the females against one another. But first they'll scrape off all of that fuzzy velvet, that material that's on their antlers that you can see there now. That actually supplies the blood flow to the antlers so that they can grow. But when they enter into the rut, they'll scrape off or scratch off all of that velvet material on something like a tree, and then it will look more like bone or mahogany, what we're used to seeing on a caribou reindeer. These ones are shorter and stockier. They're actually bred for their meat. They were actually brought over to augment the food supply after Russian whalers kind of took what nature had to offer. But caribou are doing quite well here in Alaska. There's about 750,000 to 1 million of them in 32 distinct herds all throughout the great state. These ones here are domesticated. They're owned by a local reindeer ranch that actually loans them out to us, and so we can have them here for you. By the way, you'll be able to get up and close to these animals. Your Alaska Native tour guides, as they'll take you around the village, will get you right up and close and personal to these animals. You can take as many pictures as you like, and then go home and make up any story you want. We won't take that from you.
Yeah, it was. You'll like it. It was very nice. Okay. So, okay. Okay.